could I actually work as a photographer without using Adobe products? And that's an interesting one. Like many photographers over the last couple of weeks, I've got wrapped up in the furore around Adobe's new terms and conditions. And as I understand it, it's actually a little bit too little too late, because I think these terms and conditions actually came out right back in February. And I think I've actually already agreed to them, which shows how well I read these terms and notices when it comes up. But essentially, the crux of it is that one of these terms and conditions means that Adobe will have certain rights over the content that we create using their products. And depending on how you interpret the wording, it sort of comes across that they actually have a right to that access to that content and possibly to actually use that content. And I certainly reacted to it in I just don't want to be using Adobe products anymore. And that started a chain of consciousness of, could I actually work as a photographer without using Adobe products? Because I've been using Adobe products for more than a decade. I'm particularly attached to Lightroom. That's the way that I catalogue all my photography. I do most of my basic editing in Lightroom, and I really like it. I think it's a good platform. Photoshop I've always used, but I don't use Photoshop, like the really powerful tools in Photoshop, that much. And Lightroom obviously keeps getting increasingly powerful tools built into it, which has taken the place of a lot of things that I would naturally do in Photoshop. And Premiere I've dabbled with, I've used a little bit, but really my background is in Final Cut Pro, and like the rest of the world, I've moved over to DaVinci for the last couple of years. So whilst I still do occasionally use Premiere when I'm collaborating with other artists, I don't really need it. And I am forking out a lot of money every month for these Adobe products. In terms of Photoshop, on the recommendation of others, I had a look at Affinity, and it was on a special offer. It's half price. So it only cost me, I think it was £35-40. So it was worth for a pump, bearing in mind how much I'm paying out every month. I mean, that's not dissimilar to what I'm paying on 1 month of Adobe products. So I've downloaded that. I've had a brief look at it. It ticks the boxes in terms of the stuff that I normally do in Photoshop. I can do layer stacking. I can do liquify. I haven't had a full go with it, but essentially all the kind of basic things that I would normally do in Photoshop, it ticks off. After Effects I am using for a current project, but I'm tied in, again, probably not reading the terms and conditions properly, I'm tied into Adobe until I think November anyway. And if I wanted to quit now, I'd have to pay an extra £60 or something. So I've got that probably until that project is finished anyway. So I'm increasingly learning how to use, not very good at it, but I'm learning how to use Fusion in DaVinci, which is taking the place of the things that I would have done in After Effects. So I can live without that. And then the final one, which really almost gives me the jitters, is the idea of giving up Lightroom. So I need some way of replicating a catalogue system, particularly with client work, because quite often I'll get an inquiry years after I've done a shoot of, we've lost the files, or is there any chance of a re-edit on such and such? And at the moment I can go straight to it. It's that year, it's that month, that client, bosh. So I need some kind of replacement for that. So those of you that don't use Lightroom and use different systems, I'd be really interested in what you use. I reckon if I can find something that replaces that, then potentially by November this year, 2024, I could have detoxed myself from Adobe completely, which would be a really interesting place to be, because I've always used Adobe products, and it would be very strange to suddenly just not have them. But I realised that incrementally I've actually been moving away from them anyway, and they do cost a lot of money every month. So if I didn't have that, I could, it's like halfway to a really nice lens every year, equivalent, and I wouldn't be wrapped up in these annoying terms and conditions that potentially they could own my work or take it away. That said, it is a bit like cake and eat it type scenario, that we want all this technology and the ability to increase our workflow and make it really, really good, but we don't want them to look at our products. And I think Adobe's argument would be, we're not looking to own your products or look at your products. There won't actually be any humans looking at your products, but we need something for our AI to learn from and get better from. And that's why they've got these terms and conditions. So how do you feel about this? Are you worried? Are you concerned? Are you doing things differently? If anyone has got any experience of Affinity, I'd be very interested to know what you think of that. Any top tips? I've literally just kind of like opened it up and tried a couple of things, and it looks great to start with. I have to say, it looks all right. Or should we just suck it up, buttercup, and accept that terms and conditions are part of life, that AI is slowly taking over, and we just have to wait for Skynet? I don't know. You let me know. Thanks very much for watching, folks, and let's see you in the next one. We'll probably go back to a kind of like outdoory, froggy photography type thing next time. Let's see how we go. I've had enough of talking about boring legalese in software. See you soon.